Welcome back to the Stamped Wright NBA Draft Podcast. I'm Michael Stamps here with Killian Wright. We have a pretty interesting episode idea today, so we're going to get right into that here in a moment. But Killian, I'll throw it to you really quick. How are you doing? We've had we've had the first two games of the NBA Finals happen since we posted and recorded our first episode. So any thoughts there on how those have gone?
Pretty as expected. I think we can agree on. I mean, Pacers with a ridiculous comeback game one per usual, and then Oklahoma City with a strong response. Like they're 5-0 after a loss, something like that. But
yeah,
I think it's cool because the playoffs usually round by round kind of. I feel like the playoffs every year is like the baseline for the types of guys that teams are trying to draft / add in free agency the next year. So. Just every year getting to see like kind of what the future may look like is cool. And I think this series is doing even more than that, honestly. But yeah.
But no, I feel like these teams are built the same, not obviously like different players and a little bit different, but the same types of players and role players on these teams seem similar. You have your all-league defenders like Caruso, then I guess it would be Nesmith maybe, then your 3-and-D guys, good big man, then your star. Even though Halliburton hasn't been like incredible outside of like one shot or a couple, I guess, at the end of game one. But I think it's been interesting to follow him as well. Like he has just been not aggressive or trying to score the ball at all, and that's gonna have to change. So I don't really know what the reason for that is, but I guess that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't think we have anything else unless.
Yeah. I mean, I think one interesting thing with Halliburton specifically, I guess, is like he has a lot of times where I think like a lot of people don't realize he's still having a very positive impact on the game, even when his like stats don't look good. The last two games, and especially last game, obviously, like he was just not having an impact. He wasn't really getting downhill. He wasn't really even getting to the paint very often. It was just kind of high pick and roll, like 27 feet out, and then just like kind of do nothing with it. It just shows how impressive the OKC defense is. But yeah.
Kind of I was going to say it's a testament to OKC's defense. They've been pretty incredible. So let's go ahead and get right into this concept we've got today. It's pretty simple. Killian and I whipped up a couple blind questions for each other. I have no idea what he's going to ask me, and he has no idea what I'm going to ask him. And we're just going to roll with it and see where it takes us. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with like an easy one first. I feel like there's a pretty it's a not like controversial or anything like that. So first question, Killian, I want a number. How many, like if you had to predict, like how many All-Stars do you think are coming out of this draft?
Dude, I was gonna ask you the same thing. If I had to predict, like I think I mentioned this in the first episode, like on average, there's I believe 4.8 All-Stars in the last since 2015 from 2022, so that like 7-8 year span. So if I had to guess, I mean obviously Flag, and then if I'm banking on Harper, and also is this just like by All-Star, do you mean literally making one All-Star game or like perennial guys? Because like there's a difference between like a Lauri Markkanen and like a Paul George, like
I guess I was kind of just thinking like overall. So that could be like a one-time All-Star or two-time All-Star, not like a perennial All-Star guy.
Yeah. I think there's probably I don't know exactly what the scale of potential it is for each of them, but there's probably about 12 guys who have all-star potential in this class off the top of my head. Obviously not all of them are super likely to hit it. So I would go, I think I'd go 5. I feel comfortable about Flag and Harper probably getting in there. And then I think between Edgecombe, Johnson, and Queen, probably at least one of those guys should get it. And then you go down, you've got Fears, Ace, Kasparis. I mean, even like Thero, maybe like there's guys who can. I probably overestimated it on like the 12 potential guys. Cedric Howard even like has a little bit of stuff there with the ball handling and the late rise that like you can make a case for. And then obviously like sometimes like every year there's one or two guys who make the All-Star game, like basically just being like a defensive anchor. So if you want to like throw in Malawak and maybe Colin Murray Boyles.
I was just gonna say Murray Boyles. Like I just looked up
Yeah,
he could definitely do it just for general
yeah,
impact. I think there's some of the young guys like I'd be interested to see if like Newell or like Will Riley or someone like that just ends
yeah,
up exceeding, or like Drake Powell like exceeds their
yeah,
ceiling, because those are obviously really high potential guys, but still have um still have a ways to go in terms of
yeah,
development, but obviously the upside is there. So yeah, I don't agree with anything, or I don't disagree with anything you said. I guess another name like I would be curious to see if like a Kobe Brea could do it, just for maybe he averages 20 points a game because he just doesn't miss from three. You know what I mean? Like something
yeah,
like that. Like just a sharpshooter who could kind of have a breakout season or two in the right situation. So I don't really have I don't disagree with that number. I couldn't I was thinking of the question and like didn't really know outside of like Flag, Harper, Edgecombe. I feel like I'm the most confident about those three being like consistent, but it's so
yeah,
hard to predict who's gonna, because one of these guys that we like can't predict could have a sporadically good, like one good season and then never do, like not do shit for the rest of his life. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there always is, because I think I'm gonna look at the number right now because I had it from last time. But okay, so of the 4.8 All Stars per draft, um, there was a lot of them would be that usually 1 to 2 of them per year were either in the late lottery or in the late first round and into the second round. So there's gonna be a guy or two that just don't expect it all to make it, on top of like the traditional 3-4 guys that most people will pick. So like you said, like whether it's Will Riley or Asa Newell or I don't know, like someone random just kind of breaks out and takes the scene by storm. It could happen. So you got to account for that too. So like realistically, if you think that if you're 100% confident that like the top 4 or 5 guys are all going to be all stars, then you might as well change your prediction to like 7, because more than likely there's going to be some some sleepers go through you won't expect. So I don't know. I feel pretty comfortable saying 5 just because I was doing the math a couple weeks ago on it. But I think there's a lot more guys in this class who have star potential. There's a lot of guys who are built more to be engines rather than role players. Whether they succeed
Yeah.
at that, I'm not too sure. There's a lot of guys who obviously I don't think will, but they definitely have the potential to. So I wouldn't rule out even like a 7 all-star class just from guys sneaking in one time. Like you mentioned, like Trey Johnson could get kind of the Cam Thomas or Jalen Green treatment where they like average 25 a game for a couple of years and just get in because it's a weaker class. Like that could easily happen. Obviously, neither of those guys did it, but I feel like they probably will in the next year or two, no matter how good they actually are. I mean, they put the numbers up for it. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel
I like
pretty
that.
comfortable about 7, I think.
Yeah. I agree.
All right. So my first question for you, who was your biggest riser from the start of your thing? I guess we'll start from the end of March Madness until now. Who's been your biggest riser?
It's a good question. I think the first one that comes to mind um might be Rasheer Fleming. I just feel like he tested well, and obviously he did. They didn't make March Madness, but just the more I kind of got into his film and got to watch him, the shooting upside is there. It's kind of like just another one of those players where I don't envision a way where he's not going to be able to contribute for his team. Like he's a great defender, so if the shots aren't falling, he's going to be able to contribute there. I just think the spacing works out well. But I think the most exciting thing about Rasheer Fleming is the shooting. So, and again, we talked about this a little bit last episode, but just like a general like sense of fluidity in the way some of these guys play basketball. So I think he would slide right into that category as well. And he's going to be able to guard multiple positions and he can handle the ball. So I would probably say him. I'm trying to think like I tweak my board so much. Like I probably look at it every day. So it's constantly changing, and I'll see something and pick up on it and just slide someone down or slide someone up. So It's kind of hard to like specifically pinpoint somebody. I didn't expect to be as high as I was on Sion James, but again, it's one of those things where it kind of makes sense. He's giant, great defender. He played such an interesting role for Duke, like a semi point guard, like
a combo wing,
so weird, but like definitely not their best defender, but one that was a good defensive team, obviously, but definitely has the capabilities to be a high level defender. So, I mean, he's a little bit older, but for what he's gonna do in the NBA, like that's not that big of a deal. So, Sion James, I have a first round grade on him. Yeah, those are the two that come to mind, really. I mean, Cedric Coward, everyone
that's you can
threw
almost
him
kind of
threw him
exclude
up.
that.
So I'm trying to think. There were guys that I like don't have in my document that withdrew, and I can't think of the bit. I can't. Yaxel. Yaxel was great. I had him as like a top 10 player in my class. It was like 6 or 7. Nobody liked on Twitter the fact that I had him that high. So,
well, dude, I almost replied to your tweet of a screenshot of our text, and you were like, I said like Yaxel Lendenborg, like low key might be lottery, like before that hype started happening, and you're like, he's not even in my top 30, bro. Like,
well,
and then like a week later, you tweeted these like, Yaxel Lendenborg is so good. Obviously character growth, respect it.
I had to take the time, but yeah, I know. I'll fully admit to that. That's true. I mean, another one that fits into the same category as Coward is Noah Asegwe. Still don't know how to say his name. But he's another guy that fits into that category, and I think everyone's pretty not everyone, but like a consensus that those are 2 guys that are going to be taken in the first round, and had really good combine / like pre-draft processes. So those 2 as well. But if I had to pinpoint one, it would probably be Rasheer Fleming and Sion James. And like I said, I move stuff around so much that it's kind of hard to like specifically tell. But Fleming is a guy I've wanted to like get into more and keep like if I have the opportunity to move him up and see what I'm like expecting to see, I'm going to move him up. And every time I've gone in looking for that, he's done that. So I'd probably say Fleming, Sion James. Do you have any thoughts or guys you want to throw into the mix for that on your end as well?
Fleming and Sion James are actually 2 of my biggest risers too. I went from, I mean, honestly, Fleming, like just the thought of him, I was like, all right, he's 21 and he played at St. Joseph. Like, I'm not too interested in this. And then like, I mean, just after like watching tape for like 10 minutes, you're like, okay, he can switch, he can shoot, he can put the ball on the floor. That's like realistically, that's all you need to be banked on as a productive player. There's no reason that shooting won't translate. I don't think I don't think there's any reason to. I think that's one of the more translatable things, obviously. Obviously, level of competition is kind of mediocre for a player who's projected to go like borderline lottery. But I don't think it matters too much. I think he's pretty big and giant enough to be able to hold up size to where that shouldn't be a concern. So I think he's kind of like the perfect role player, and he jumped up pretty high. And then Sion James for me too. I mean, Sion James is like, I don't know, the 6th best player on Duke this year. And so it's kind of, I don't know, he wasn't even on my mind. But really, he's kind of the same build. He can put the ball on the floor, defend, shoot, pass. He doesn't really make dumb decisions. Like, he seems like a pretty surefire bet to be kind of like a mainstay in a guard rotation. I don't think that's like a guaranteed 30-minute per night guy or anything like that, but I think he'll have a long career, and I don't really see a reason as to why he wouldn't. Obviously, it's not a 100% guarantee, but he seems like he's a pretty surefire bet for being a productive role player. The only other guys for me that were kind of like major risers like that, I mean, I was very, I think I texted you this at one point. I was very, very out on Jace Richardson just because he's a 6'1" non-point guard. I think even shorter. I think he's like 6'1.5" with no shoes on. And so that's pretty scary. But like realistically, he doesn't really do anything wrong on the offensive end. And He's got like a 8.5-inch standing reach, I think, so he can more than hold his own on the defensive side, especially considering he's not like a super slow-footed guy, and he plays smart too, is what I'll say. It never feels like he's out of position on that end of the court. But Jace is just another one of those guys who's kind of always making the right read. I trust him. I think he's really good off the catch, and so I think he's perfectly fine as an off guard. And I think it's okay to be a little smaller, as long as you're able to have a strong enough core to not just get absolutely punished by wings. I think most teams that are trying to win games will have like foundation for Jace to succeed. And so he was one of my biggest risers because, yeah, I mean, I think most people understand why a 6'1" non-point guard is pretty low on initial boards, but it doesn't take very long to see he's pretty much one of the most complete offensive players in the class already.
Yeah, there's always going to be a role in an NBA team for a good decision maker and an athlete. So no disagreements from me there. I'm going to throw out my second question for you now. And I'm kind of curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Who is one player that is getting mocked in first rounds and in everyone's first round, top 30 big boards that you think has no business like at all going in the first round or getting drafted in general, if you want to get that controversial?
No. Okay.
That you just don't think, you don't see the first round vision, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but
no, I got one that a lot of, I think he's arguably the most divisive player. Okay, aside from Ace Bailey, I think he's the most divisive player in the class. I think Yegor Demon kind of sucks. He really struggles. I mean, you saw that post I sent you against top 25 bump. He shot.
Yeah.
Oh man, he shot like 40% of the rim or something. He can't shoot. His jumper is whack. He can't shoot threes. And to be a guy like Yegor Demon, like to have Yegor most excels when the ball is in his hands, right? In the NBA, if you're going to be the guy with the ball in your hands the most, you got to be your team's best player. That's why guys like Giddey don't really translate to winning, because they excel the most with their ball in their hands, but he's not as good as a Tatum or a Shea or a Halliburton or guys that like deserve to have the ball in their hands the entire game. I don't think there's too much potential for Yegor being an off-ball player either. He's got height and like okay athleticism, where we talked about like he could. I guess he could cut theoretically, but like it's not a guy I'd look to spend a first round pick on. And I also see him getting mocked to a lot of win now teams, which I'm like, I don't think that's the move at all. I think if someone were to take a flower on him, it has to be a team that's pretty bare and empty, like the Jazz or the Nets. Not with their top 10 pick, obviously, but like in terms of going to a place like that where it's just kind of the team building is still figuring it out, and he has a lot of freedom and a lot of time to grow into a player he can become. But the archetype of the 6'8" or taller point guard that can't shoot has had a lot of problems in the last 4 or 5 years. And I don't think Yegor is any different than the rest of those guys. So personally, he's like in the mid-second round on my board. I do think he has, like I mentioned, he's one of those guys that technically does have that all-star potential, but it's like 1 to 2% chance of reaching that. And I don't think he will, obviously. So I'm pretty much fully out on Yegor Demon. If he proves me wrong and ends up being a really productive player, good for him. But I would not want my team taking a chance on Yegor Demon.
That's fair. That's interesting. I don't really have anything super controversial. If I had to throw a name out there, it'd be Asa Newell. I think he's kind of slow and isn't like big enough to like he played center, like small ball center, or like or the 4 for Georgia, but I don't really think he has the outside shooting potential. But he's also he's 6'9" without shoes on, so he's not a center. And he's not as good on defense as like Murray Boyles. If he had that Murray Boyles, like anything that Murray Boyles has on defense, not that I guess Newell's not a bad defender, so that's a stretch. But if he had the instincts and that sort of thing on defense, then I think I'd be a lot higher on him. But he's not a all world defender or a elite defender. I mean, he could be, but I don't see that. So I don't really know what his role is going to be. But if a team took Newell like end of the first round, I don't think I'd be disappointed. But you know, I don't really have anyone that I'm super low on. Like Danny Wolf, I guess gets you hear him a lot.
I don't see it for Danny Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of fun, but he's not. I don't think he's particularly.
Yeah,
I think particularly great.
Yeah, funny. Danny Wolf is actually one spot below Yegor on my big board, so right next to each other there.
I still need to be sold on Drake Powell. I think it's I still think it's the offensive side of things, but I know the potential's there. So he's a guy I'm kind of in and out on, depending on how I feel when I wake up in the morning. So that's gonna be a game time decision where he ends up, where he ends up on my board, because I'm not too sold on him yet, but I see the vision there. So nothing too.
I have seen him. I've seen him mock to your Bulls a couple times at 12. Yeah. Yeah. He's getting lottery buzz. I wouldn't.
That's a little. I think that's a little.
Out, all I'd say.
That's a little. I think that's a little high.
Yes, I do think that's a little high, but I wouldn't completely rule it out because clearly there's buzz of it.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, but I can see why you're not totally sold on him, because like I kind of think like he could be like a really elite 3-and-D player, but like as it stands right now, like he could also be just kind of defense and like a fake shooter where he'll shoot like 37%, but it's because teams don't guard him at all. Like with like the Isaac Okoro, like that, where it's like
that's interesting.
Like, wait, Isaac Okoro is a good defender and shoots 39% from 3. Like, why isn't he playing more? Well, it's because he can't really shoot. It's just like teams will live with him making 1 out of every 3 wide open threes. Yeah, so I could see that being the case as of right now for where he is, because obviously he shot at a pretty low volume last year. So I could understand that and why he's low on your board for sure. I guess another guy I have pretty low, but I understand why he's high on boards because of potential, is I have Fears down at like 30, because once again, the Demon treatment, Fears can't play off ball at all, and he'll get hunted even more on defense than Demon will. Fears doesn't really have a 3-point shot either. Obviously that could develop, but like he doesn't really have one right now. Doesn't really have a catch and shoot jumper at all, so to say. I believe he shot sub 50% at the rim and wasn't even very great in like the middle paint area from the floater range. Not the world's greatest playmaker. So I'm not really sure what people are saying in Fears besides the volume. Obviously there's potential, but I don't think his potential to be this star player is as high as people are making it out to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think volume does kind of his volume did kind of saturate his stats, obviously, but what people make of him, shot selection needs to improve. But I think I think just like showing he's a capable scorer at a high volume is kind of what intrigues people, and maybe intrigues me as well. But I agree, he needs the ball in his hands, and unless he's the best player on this team, it's just not, might not work.
Because also running through like just off the top of my head, like in the NBA, like the league's like top scoring guards, like between how tall is Fears? Like Fears can't be taller than
6'2", 6'3".
I'm gonna say he can't be taller than 6'3". So it's like out of the guys who are like 6'3" and under, there's only one. We'll call it 2 guys who are 6'3" and under who are the first option on a good team, and it's Steph and Brunson. And Steph is the greatest shooter of all time, and Brunson is the strongest sub 6'3" player I've ever watched in my life. Everyone else is a complimentary guy, or a first option on a bad team, and they're all like at least 38% 3-point shooters. So we'll see if Fears can do that, but I think it's going to take a lot for him to be a good player. It's not going to be an easy path.
I loved the Cole Anthony comp/role comparison you gave for him last episode. I think that's perfect. And Cole Anthony still has that upside. I think Fears is gonna have the upside to score in bunches, but it's like he's gonna have 1 month where he's great, and then he's gonna be like inefficient and a disappearing act the rest. So I think that's a pretty perfect
like
for him.
Fears is like the perfect guy to like have on your squad when it's like you hit like a rough patch in January where like your first and second option is out. and you need someone to start taking a bunch of shots and at least be able to take over the offense at like a 55% true shooting rate. And Fierce can do that and maybe keep you like a game or two below 500 in that stretch, probably. But so I think he could have a role in the league, but it's a very specific one. Yeah. I guess I'll fire another question back at you. Who is your favorite upperclassman in the draft? Not only in terms of who's the best right now, but in terms of who you think will be the best between all the juniors and seniors.
Oh, that's a really good question. Here, let me sort it out, and I'll give you an answer. I mean, I guess the ranked the highest on my board is Rasheer Fleming of all of them. So I'll and also Coward. So I'll try to avoid that answer. I'll give you another junior, a senior, and like a graduate senior, so like 5th, 6th year guy as well. So I guess another like my next junior up would be Thiero, and I know we had some disagreements on him, but I think the defense wingspan, if the shooting comes around, I think there's a real role for him on an NBA team, but the athleticism enough. I like his downhill ability. He's also got significantly better every year he's played. So he just seems like one of those guys that can continue to improve. He still has a lot of upside despite spending 3 years in college. So I think Thiero is going to be a good player. There's definitely a role for him on an NBA team. I not saying I don't think he's an all-star level guy, obviously, but I just think he does what he does well. If the shooting comes around, obviously that raises his ceiling as a player a lot. If it doesn't, I still feel like he has enough downhill attacking ability, defense as well. Then obviously he's a high flyer. So I feel like he has enough to last in the NBA. I'm not I kind of threw, I think I was texting you about this. I kind of threw Derrick Jones Jr. out there. I don't think Derrick Jones Jr. is a much better shooter than I think I realized.
Well, he's kind of another one of those fake shooters where it's
but good enough. I think he's
better than Thiero, definitely.
Yeah. But I feel like that could be at least the role that Thiero plays, just athletic wing, good defender. Obviously the athleticism is, I mean, I'm not going to say it's they're matched, but you know what I mean? Same kind of realm. So that's kind of what I think of when I think of Thiero. So I don't know. I like him a lot. I guess a true senior, Walter Clayton. I feel like he's pretty safe. Pretty safe prospect. He's a little small, but he does everything pretty well. Obviously, he's an elite scorer. Decent, good enough playmaker. He's going to be a good backup point guard, maybe a low end starter, but he's just going to be a reliable guy off the bench, I think. I feel like I don't have much to say about Walter Clayton.
Do you think
outside?
Obviously, Clayton, he's a pretty good, he's got a handle and he can score from pretty much anywhere on the court.
Yeah.
With his usage rate kind of going up, do you think he could be a true point in the NBA, or is he more of a Simons where he's sharing it with someone and is he might have the ball in his hands, but he's not a true, he'll never average more than what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if he's a good enough distributor to be a true point. So I guess that's you make a good point there. I don't know if he's a good enough distributor. He can handle the ball and run an offense, but he's not going to be so I think that's a good point you make. I like where you're coming from there.
Well, it was just it was a question, honestly. I wasn't saying
I agree. I agree with that though. I agree with that. I think there might be some defensive concerns as well. Not that he's a bad defender. He's kind of one of those players where he's might not excel at I don't want to say he doesn't excel as a scorer, but because he does, but he's not incredible at everything or one certain thing. He's just really, really good at a lot of things. So again, just a really safe pick. I don't really know where where he gets mocked generally. I feel like he's kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people like that I think are pretty credible have him in the late lottery at like 13,
Yeah.
14. And then I've also seen people have him down in like the 25 to 35 range.
Yeah. So
I
I
really
mean,
don't know.
it's safe to say he's probably like more than likely a first round pick. I would like to think
Probably.
that. He's definitely good enough, but I guess you never know. But yeah, another one of those guys where I think there's always going to be a role for someone like him. And maybe he does maybe he does end up, finding an efficient role and he has the ball in his hands a lot and he becomes more than just a backup. That's not impossible. But I don't know. And then um, for a grad senior 5th year guy, it's Ryan Kalkbrenner. We talked about him a little bit last episode. I actually just wrote a little bit about him this morning. Nothing crazy, but just one of, I mean, probably the next best. I don't want to embarrass myself. Yeah, probably the next best rim protector, if not the best, along with Malawach. I think he has enough offensive. I don't know if you want to call it upside, but the
Yeah.
offense is there. I mean, I watched every Creighton game this season. He's not like it's so weird because he's not an elite scorer of the ball. He's just really good at using his body.
He's
And
pretty complete.
yeah, I mean, he's pretty. I think he's like an underrated amount of like he's actually really strong, and sometimes he plays kind of soft, but he's pretty powerful. And he showed not only a willingness to shoot threes, but the ability to make them and like do it at a high volume, which will really, 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 really help him find more of a role in the NBA. This is kind of off topic, but obviously, like we're a Creighton family. But my brother goes to Purdue. My dad went there as well. So I've lived with like Zach Edey propaganda for the last 4 years, and it's awful. But it was kind of like I
Do you
would
think
argue
Polk ends up better than Edey?
Do I think Kalkbrenner is better than Edey?
Like, will he end up better than Edey in like 5 years?
Is it controversial to say yes?
I think he will.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Kalkbrenner is a lot more plug and play than Edey. I think Edey's very
yeah.
situational.
I also think, man, I hate saying I don't think he's only good because he's big, but like Kalkbrenner obviously has a lot more fluidity on defense and like he can guard. Like he's not going to be guarding guards, right? But he can switch a little bit. I think his pick and roll defense is actually very good, which you don't find a lot in big men. And then he is a more skilled shot blocker than Zach Edey. That's not like Edey just has an insane reach. Like he doesn't have to do much to block shots. But Kalkbrenner, I don't think he ever fouled out of a game in 5 years of college basketball. I don't think he ever fouled out of a game.
Yeah, like, that's pretty disciplined for a forward. What? How many deep boys did he rack up?
4.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
He is like in the same conversation as Patrick Ewing in college basketball. Like he is I seriously,
get it.
On defense, like he's that good. The opposite side of that, he's just, he's old. He's actually like not a very good rebounder. Like
I think that's fine though.
He's fine, but I mean, he's not a great rebounder, but the shot blocking instincts are so good, and he actually has a really mechanic wise has a really clean looking jump shot. And I was getting to this as well. Like has showed the ability to make them. He made them in really clutch situations. One of the best shots and games I've ever watched in my life was not this last tournament, but the one before, that double overtime against Oregon, and he hit a spot up 3 for no reason, and it gave him the lead. So he can make them. Good free throw shooter. I think he'll get more polished down low with footwork and inside scoring. So he's getting first round looks. I don't know if he's going to go in the first round or not.
He will, right?
I think he should.
Yeah. He's going to be the biggest steal of the draft if he goes in the second round. I mean, he doesn't really, one of those guys, again, he doesn't really do much wrong. So Ryan Kalkbrenner going to be my favorite. Probably he might be my favorite of everyone I just talked about outside of maybe Rasheer Fleming. Bias aside, do you have any names you want to throw in the ring for your question as well? I think Kalk might be my favorite too, honestly. Like he's pretty complete. He can roll, he can pop, he can seal. He can catch lobs, which it kind of catches people off guard, I think. Like he's actually for being a kind of, I mean, stereotypical like 7-foot white guy, like he has a pretty solid above the rim game that I don't think there's a reason it can't translate to the next level. Obviously one of the better shot blockers. And you mentioned like he's not, aside from like superstars, like if he gets switched onto like a Shea or like a Trae Young maybe, who are a little bit quicker and have that good kind of floater mid-range-ish game, like not floater in Shea's case, but deep paint game. I think Calc can more than hold his own against 90% of the league when being switched on them. I mean, his arms are giant. He's whatever ground he loses in the foot speed, he's just going to make up instantly by contesting it with his 12 million feet wingspan. So it's like, I think there's not much wrong that Calc does in terms of like a modern five, like Miles Turner. Like I think he's fine for that, which is, I mean, Miles Turner's a starter on a finals team right now. I think he's pretty set in terms of a long NBA career. He's one of my favorites. Like if you go more for the like potential route for like an all-star, I think Coward obviously has that. He probably has one of the lower floors of those upperclassmen just because, I mean, I haven't really seen him. He's played 6 D1 games, so it's kind of hard to get a full gauge on him. But other than Calc, like Nick Clifford, I think is pretty complete. Doesn't really, I mean, lockdown defender and shoots 40% from 3 and is comfortable enough to put the ball on the floor and attack at times. Obviously not run your offense, but I trust him to be like a tertiary creator guy who can slash and drive and kick every once in a while. I think Nick Clifford has a pretty good argument for aside of like maybe the top 4 or 5 guys, like being the best win now contributor in the class. So if a team like Golden State or Minnesota in that kind of late lottery range wants him, I think he's the guy. But yeah, I think Calc is a pretty good choice. And then I like your route for Thero for potential. I think he's got loads of potential. Obviously, he's super raw still, but he could definitely hit it like you mentioned. But yeah, overall, I would go Calc and Neek probably as the 2.
It's kind of interesting with Thero because the same situation he's in right now going into the draft, and I'm sure it's the same thing with teams evaluating him, was kind of the situation he was in going into college. Like he was a super late bloomer. He was barely ranked as a recruit, I think. And Calipari took a flyer on him and didn't really do much as a freshman, but proved pretty quick that he was going to be a competitive guy, and now he's here. So he's in kind of the same situation where a lot of potential, untapped a little bit in college, but there's still a lot there. The only other name I'd like to throw out is Kobe Brea or Bray. I don't know how to say it. Again, the ceiling's not like high really at all, but he is like one of those guys that can go into a game probably and hit 2 or 3 threes, and he can go off the dribble a little bit as well. So I like Kobe Brea a lot. I don't know where he's going to go. I have him as a first round guy, but he's not going to go there. But that's another guy. Him and Chaz Lanier are 2 guys I would kind of trust to find roles in the NBA just for their 3-point shooting, and Lanier more is scoring in general. But both of those guys have roles for sure. Let's go on to my third question here. Kind of an interesting one. It's going to probably dig into your bank a little bit, but who is your like favorite player in the draft that is likely to go undrafted? Like ultimate sleeper pick, like one guy that's, and maybe he's not
the guy I just texted you about.
Oh dude, I'm so ready for this because I don't know who this guy is, so I can't wait for you to tell me about him. But yeah, tell us about Talon Peter, please.
Yeah, okay. So Talon Peter, Liberty, right? It's tough. He's in Conference USA. I think he's worth a pick. He's a lights out, just laser of a 3-point shooter. And he's pretty well rounded too. He can finish at the rim like just fine. Obviously, not the greatest comp in the world, but he can finish at the rim. He'd be one of the only USA players to get drafted. I think Bassie is the last guy, and then before that, you're looking at Will Barton. But Talon Peter, I think he has a future in the NBA, like strictly for his jump shot. Like he's kind of honestly just like a little bit better version of a Caleb Grill. And if I mean, I've been on record now saying that I think Caleb Gurl's an NBA player. Then I should have no reason to say that I don't think Talon Peter is. So I think Peter, just in terms of, especially in a draft that's a little bit weaker on the shooting side, I would say. I mean, obviously you mentioned Kobe Bray, who's good. Khan's obviously a lights out shooter, but in terms of like guaranteed guys who seem to like you would bank on being really good shooters, you're only looking at a handful of them, I think. And so I think in this class, like a guy like Talon Peter, like honestly maybe could get a look in the late second round. Just for some team who's like really desperate, or if not, like I think he'll get picked up for summer league for sure. Like Jack Golke's in the G League, dude. Like Talon Peter should be in the league. I think he's nice. I think he can work enough around in terms of versatility and the way he gets his 3-point shots. He's a good off ball mover. I think he can work a DHO game too. And then obviously he's a threat to be a cutter, because I think he shot like something ridiculous. I think he was like over 75% at the rim, which is crazy for like a 6'4", 6'5" white guy. That doesn't happen very much. So I think in terms of the shooter archetypes, Talon Peter has a strong case to be a player in the NBA. Not saying he's going to be anything more than like a 10, 12 minute per game spot guy. But if you're talking about guys who I think might go undrafted who are worth a shot, then I would go Talon Peter.
How did you stumble across this dude? Because I think I'd heard his name once or twice just from like following college basketball, but I didn't even know he was draft eligible.
So you had mentioned Kobe Bray to me, or Brea, a couple weeks ago, and so I was filtering through that the stat site, like what's it called, like the Bart era, Bartorvik, the one where you can filter through like the 2008 years and on and through all the stats. And I was trying to look for like guys who shot threes at a certain volume and also had like X amount of BPM and X amount of like dunk attempts. And Talon Peter showed up because he shot like 44% from three and was like getting to the rim. And so I was like, whoa, like who is this guy? Like, I mean, obviously it's Liberty. Can't take that as like he's doing this in the SEC or something, but like, hey, I mean, he's one of the only players in college basketball doing this. So he's up there with the best of the best in terms of shooting. And he's not like a one-trick pony to the extent where like I wouldn't trust him to dribble in an NBA game, which is like a lot of those guys and the kind of weaker conferences are. Like, I think Talon Peter could hold on to the ball without turning it over every possession.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah. So I think he's pretty solid. And obviously kind of people have been talking about this lately. I think it's a really interesting point, but like that archetype is kind of dying in terms of like what JJ Redick used to be and what Duncan Robinson used to be, in terms of like, all we need you to do is run off screens and shoot threes. Like, you have to be able to do a little bit more. I think Talon Peter has like just enough of that to where like he's enough of a threat off cuts and a finisher at the rim. And he's not a terrible defender. He's not going to be a positive by any means, but he's not so bad to the extent where it's like a guaranteed bucket if Brunson gets a switch on him. Like, Talon Peter will be able to get a stop here and there. And is more than capable of guarding like corner sitters like Dorian Finney-Smith or whoever. So I think he's worth a shot.
Interesting. The one name I'm going to float out there is Jackson Money from North Dakota State. Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay. Well, he's pretty sick. You should give him a look.
Okay.
He's a like 6'10", 230 forward, averaged 21 points a game and 6 rebounds, shot 41% from three, 51 from the field. Just kind of a stretch four, good scorer, has some fun tools. Not great on defense, and he's not like not great on defense, not a very good rebounder, but I think the offensive potential and upside would be worth a pick. But if not, he's going to be a guy that can probably earn some minutes in the NBA. So Jackson Money, give him a look. He's kind of a...
How do you spell Money?
Moni.
Moni. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
Outside of that, this is off topic, but a lot of people seem to really like Javon Small.
I've been seeing a lot of buzz for him lately.
I need to go rewatch him because I don't have him that high. So I need to go see if I can see the vision, because I don't for right now, but that's another guy to keep an eye on. Also, oh man, this is gonna be another name. Is it Dink Pate? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
He's so interesting. I don't know if he's gonna get drafted or not, but he's obviously been in the G League. He was at Ignite, and now he's
He'll
just
be the last Ignite guy, right? I think so.
I think
him and Almanza.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know if Malik Lewis played for Ignite either, but yeah, Dig Pate has so many, like a ton of tools. Would be interesting to see where he would be now if he went to college. I guess we'll never know. I think he was committed to Central Florida at one point. Kind of interesting. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have about our friend Dink.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on because you texted me about him a bit ago, and I finally got around to watching him, and I wanted to know what your thoughts were on Yannick Conan Niederhauser, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, no, he's fun. I think he's just like ultimate athletic big, good rebounder, good shot blocker. Not going to be a guy that plays substantial minutes in the NBA, but I think he's athletic enough and good enough rim runner and defender to have a role. So I think he's fun.
Cool.
There's a role for him for sure.
Okay, yeah. Because I was watching him, I think 2 nights ago. That I wasn't seeing much. I just wanted to double check that you didn't think he was like real good or anything.
No.
Yeah. I was thinking like Jackson Hayes or Cam Oliver, like at the most. So
yeah, Jackson Hayes is. I mean, Jackson Hayes would probably be best case scenario.
Yeah,
but they do kind of play the same with that. Very explosive athletes, good reach.
Yeah. Also
good
very
shot.
flunky and kind of
irrational
uncoordinated defensive end, but yeah, scary stuff. Not sure because I've seen a couple first round grades on him, and I think he might be the least skilled player to ever be drafted in the first round if that happens.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't. He only has 1 year of Power 5 experience on like one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. So
yeah,
kind of interesting there.
Yeah. Along the lines of like what we were talking about with kind of Talon and Kobe Bray, who do you think is out of all the prospects that are like labeled as shooters in this class? Let's rule out Khan because he's a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Of all the guys who are just labeled as like shooter archetypes, who do you think is the best prospect? Not just who has the best jump shot, but like who is the guy that you feel most confident in?
I mean, it might be Kobe Brea. Would you fit? Would we fit Clayton into this conversation? I don't know if because he's more than just a shooter, so probably not.
Guard, yeah.
So probably Brea. I mean, he was efficient and reliable. I know we're not saying who has the best jump shot, but like he also has probably the best jump shot. Like mechanically, it's so pure. So probably Kobe Brea. Lanier is a little bit more than just a shoot. Like he has a little bit more off-ball ability. But he is also like he's kind of like clunky and sporadic to me as well, and not a great decision maker. And I think his shot selection is pretty bad. Kobe is just like he can do it, like he can shoot off the dribble a little bit, but he's really just a catch and shoot guy. And every draft has a couple of them, and he's gonna be that one. I think his size also helps too because he's 6'4", 6'5". Yeah, he's 6'5", almost 6'6". So like he's bigger, can defend the 2 or the 3. So I think that's nice. And he's not a great defender, but not horrible, not a ultra negative. But yeah, mechanically and efficiency wise, probably Kobe Brea. It's also good that a guy like him was able to move up to the SEC and like still like maintain the level of his jump shot. Like holy shit, he shot almost 50% at Dayton. The 23-24 season.
Yeah.
From 3. That's ridiculous. But he still shot 43.5, so almost 44% from 3 this season for Kentucky. So that is still really darn good. The fact that he's able to move up a level and still be efficient. So that's a sign enough that I think he has a translatable jump shot.
More than you like him more than McNeely?
I have them like right next to each other. So
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know if I like literally right next to each other. I have McNeely one spot ahead. I think it's more like a kind of like a youth thing too, and I think McNeely has a little bit more off the dribble potential on offense. But I don't know. That's a tough one to ask. I feel like they're both gonna do.
Yeah.
They're gonna do similar things. So do you have anything different to say, or is Kobe your guy?
I think I might lean Liam just because, like you said, he's got a little bit more on ball stuff. But I also think Kobe's a little bit better of a mover. And so just kind of depending on what you want, I think that's very different. But yeah, I think I'd lean McNeely, but Kobe's a close second.
Yeah. Was that your third question?
I think I snuck in a fourth with that one. Maybe.
Oh wow.
Wait, no, I didn't. No, that was my third one.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and I'm gonna ask you one more quick one, but we're gonna round it out here. And this is a pure hater take. Who is the worst player you have watched so far in this draft cycle? The absolute worst. It doesn't have to be somebody anyone knows, but who is the worst player that you've watched in this draft cycle so far?
In terms of players that I have like sought out myself to look and not just like stumbled upon and like passing when I like, let's say like, for example, like if I was trying to watch Tamar Bates film and like stumbled across Jacob Cruz, like I'm not going to count Jacob Cruz, but like, I think the worst player I've watched while drafting is probably, I think I'm saying this right, Michael Ruzic, the Serbian guy.
He is not good at all. Holy.
What does he do? Like genuinely, what does he do? Like I have no idea. He's a complete hypothetical player. Like he's got size and like I think he's supposed to be able to dribble and pass, but like didn't really look like it. Can't shoot. Has Ryan Anderson defensive skills. Like I don't know what I'm looking at with this guy. And I've seen people have like top 25 grades on him. I genuinely have no idea. Because it's not even like the Hugo Gonzalez case where it's like Hugo was really good and athletic, and when he plays, he's good. He just doesn't get a lot of time because he's on like one of the best European teams in the world. This is completely different. This guy just isn't good. Dude, maybe he'll prove me wrong and become like a real positive player in the NBA, but like I have no idea like where the hype is on that.
I had similar opinions for Lachlan Ulbrich, one of those Australian guys. And like I was reading, the first thing I did was like I read a scouting report on him, and it's like one of the first things it said was like he does everything okay. I'm like, that's not.
That's the sign that
it's like, and he doesn't shoot. Average defender, average rebounder, pretty slow and unathletic. Like he's strong, but doesn't do anything well. So I'll throw Lachlan Ulbrich's name.
Yeah. Okay. So he kind of has like the jack of all trades label, I guess. You know how that's like jack of all trades is kind of like the red flag, like they're not like good. Okay, so I on my board I have Neat Clifford labeled as jack of all trades, but instead of master of some, I have jack of all trades, Jedi Knight of some, because I think he's pretty good. He's not great, but he's pretty good at a lot of things. So.
No, I agree with that. He's gonna work out. He's not Lachlan Ulbrich.
Yeah. Also, I can't. Sometimes I forget that like Australian people are named Lachlan. Like it just makes me think of the Minecraft guy.
I know every single time.
Yeah.
Worst haircut ever.
Yeah, dude. The NBL. I don't understand why the NBL sucks so much in putting out NBA prospects, because like they're good. Like it's a very good league, like a top 5 league in the world. Yeah. They just like their NBA guys don't translate.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. Who was the most recent one? Was it Travers?
I think Travers was he might have been in the same class as Zhang, but Travers is the last
I forgot
Australian guy to come out.
Yeah.
Because they have guys who come in from all over the world, play a year there, and then join.
Yeah. The Australian dude, like the actual Australian dudes are just aren't really that good. But
I'm still holding out hope for Luke Travers. We'll see.
Yeah.
Just wait for him to return to the league, dude.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we have today for second episode of Stamped Right. NBA Draft podcast. We'll have another one next week, and we'll talk to you guys later.